Bible today, and currently I'm at Second Kings chapter 4. So before I start, let's say our Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as you forgive those who trespass against you. As you forgive us who trespass against us, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. The window, Second Kings chapter 4. The window of a member of a group of prophets went to Elisha and said, Sir, my husband has died, as you know. He was a God-fearing man, but now a man he owed money to has come to take away my 2 sons as slaves in payment for my husband's debt. What shall I do for you? He asked. Tell me, what have you got at all? Nothing at all except a small jar of olive oil, she answered. Go to your neighbors and borrow as many empty jars as you can. Elisha told her. Then you and your sons go into the house, close the door and start pouring oil into the jars. Set each one aside as soon as it is full. So the woman went into her with her sons, closed the door, took the small jar of olive oil, and poured oil into small jar of okay, and pour oil into the jars as her sons brought them to her. When they had filled all the jars, she asked if there were any more. That was the last one of her sons said. And the olive oil stopped flowing. She went back to Elisha, the prophet, who said to her, Sell the olive oil and pay all the money left over for you and your sons to live. Sell the olive oil and pay your debts, and there will be enough money left over for you and your sons to live on. One day Elisha went to Shunem, where a rich woman lived. She invited him to a meal, and from then on, every time she went to Shunem, he would have his meal at her house. She said to her husband, I am sure that this man who comes here so often is a holy man. Let's build a small room on the roof, put a bed, a table, a chair, and a lamp in it. He can stay there whenever he visits us. One day Elisha returned to Shunem and went up to his room to sleep. But he told his servant Gehazi to go and call the woman. When she came, he said to Gehazi, Ask her what I can do for her, in return for all the trouble she has had in providing for our needs. Maybe she would like me to go to the king or the army commander and put in a good word for her. I have all I need here among my own people. She answered. Elisha asked Gehazi, what can I do for her then? He answered, well, she has no son, and her husband is an old man. Tell her to come here, Elisha ordered. She came and stood in the doorway, and Elisha said to her, by this time next year, you will be holding a son in your arm. Oh, she exclaimed, please, sir, don't lie to me. You are a man of God. But as Elisha had said, at about that time, the following year, she gave birth to a son. Some years later, at harvest time, The boy went out one morning to join his father, who was in the field with the harvest workers. Suddenly he cried out to his father, "My head hurts, my head hurts." "Carry the boy to his mother," the father said to a servant. The servant carried the boy back to his mother, who held him in her lap until noon, at which time he died. She, cri- she, carried up, she carried him up to Elisha's room, put him on the bed and left, closing the door behind her. Then she called her husband and said to him, "Send a servant here with a donkey. I need to go to the prophet Elisha. I will be back as soon as I, I can." "Why do you have to go today?" her husband asked. "It is neither a Sabbath nor a new moon festival." "Never mind," she answered. Then she had the donkey saddled and ordered the servant, "Make the donkey go as fast as it can, and don't slow down unless I tell you to." So she set out and went to Mount Carmel, where Elisha was. Elisha saw her coming while she was still some distance away, why and said to his servant Gehazi, "Look, there comes the woman from Shunem. Hurry to her and find out if everything is all right with her husband and her son." She told Gehazi that everything was all right, but when she came to Elisha, she bowed down before him and took hold of his feet. Gehazi was about to push her away, but Elisha said, "Leave her alone. Can't you see she is deeply distressed? And the Lord has not told me a thing about it." The woman said to her, "Sir, did I ask you for a son? Did I tell you not to raise my hopes?" Elisha turned to Gehazi and said, "Hurry, take my stick and go. Don't stop to greet anyone you met, and if anyone greets you, don't take time to answer. Go straight to the house and hold my stick over the boy." The woman said to Elisha, "I swear by my loyalty to the living God and to you that I will not leave you." So the two of them started back together. Gehazi went on ahead and held Elisha's stick over the child, but there was no sound or any other sign of life. So he went back to meet Elisha and said, "The boy did not wake up." When Elisha arrived, he went alone into the room and saw the boy lying dead on the bed. He closed the door and prayed to the Lord. Then he lay down on the boy, placing his mouth, eyes, and hand on the boy's mouth, eyes, and hand. As he lay stretched out over the boy's body started to get warm. Elisha got up, walked about the room, and then went back and again stretched himself over the boy. The boy sneezed several times and then opened his eyes. Elisha called Gehazi and told him to call the boy's mother. When she came in, he said to her, "Here is your son." She fell at Elisha's feet, with her face touching the ground. Then she took her son and left. Once, when there was a famine throughout the land, Elisha returning to Gilgal while he was teaching a group of prophets, He told his servant to put a big pot on the fire and make some stew for them. One of them went out in the field to get some herbs. He found a wide vein and picked as many gourds as he could carry. He brought them back and sliced them up into the stew, not knowing what they were. The stew was poured out for the men to eat, but as soon as they tasted it, they exclaimed to Elisha, "It is poisoned," and would not eat it. Elisha asked for some meal, threw it into the pot, and said, "Pour out some more stew for them." And then there was nothing wrong with it. Another time, a man came from Shalisha, bringing Elisha 20 loaves of bread made from the first bearing harvested that year, and some freshly cut ears of corn. Elisha told his servant to feed the group of prophets with this. But he answered, "Do you think this is enough for 100 men?" Elisha replied, "Give it to them to eat, because the Lord says that they will eat and still have some left over." So the servant set the food before them, and as the Lord had said, they all ate, and there was still some left over. 2 Kings chapter 5. Naaman, the commander of the Syrian army, was highly respected and esteemed by the king of Syria, because through Naaman the Lord has given victory to the Syrian forces. He was a great soldier, but he suffered from a dreaded skin disease. In one of their raids against Israel, the Syrians had carried off a little Israel girl who became a servant of Naaman's wife. One day she said to her mistress, "I wish that my master could go to the prophet who lives in Samaria. He would cure him of his disease." When Naaman heard of this, he went to the king and told him what the girl had said. The king said, "Go to the king of Israel. Go to the king of Israel and take this letter to him." Naaman set out, taking 30,000 pieces of silver, 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of fine clothes. The letter that he took read, "This letter will introduce my official, Naaman. I want you to cure him of his disease." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes in dismay and exclaimed, "How can the king of Syria expect me to cure this man? Does he think that I am God, with the power of life and death? It is plain that he is trying to take a quarrel with me." When the prophet Elisha heard what had happened, he sent word to the king, "Why are you so upset? Send the man to me, and I will show him that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stopped at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a servant out to tell him to go and wash himself 7 times in the river Jordan, and he would be completely cured of his diseases. But Naaman left in a rag, saying, "I thought that he would at least come out to me, pray to the Lord his God, wave his hand over the disease spot, and cure me." Besides, and aren't the rivers Abana and far back in Damascus, better than any river in Israel. Just carry go. I could have washed in them and be killed. His servant went up to him and said, Sir, if the prophet has told you to do something difficult, you would have done it. Now, why can't you just wash yourself? As he said, and be killed. So Nehemiah went down to the Jordan, dipped himself in it 7 times, as Elisha had instructed, and he was completely cleared. His flesh became firm and healthy, like that of a child. He returned to Elisha with all his men and said, Now I know that there is no God but the God of Israel. So please, sir, accept, accept from me, accept a gift from me. Elisha answered, By the living Lord whom I serve, I swear that I will not accept a gift. Nehemiah insisted that he accept it, but he will not. So Nehemiah said, If you will not accept my gift, then let me have 2 more loads of earth to take home with me, because from now on I will not offer sacrifices or burnt offerings to any god except the Lord. So I hope that the Lord will forgive me when I accompany my king to the temple of Ramon, the god of Syria, and worship him. Surely the Lord will forgive me. Go in peace, Elisha said. And Nehemiah left. He had gone only a short distance when Elisha's servant Gehazi said to himself, My master has left Nehemiah get away without. Okay, my master has let Nehemiah get away without paying a thing. He should have accepted what that Syrian offered him. By the living Lord, I will run after him and get something from him. So he set off after Nehemiah. When Nehemiah saw a man running after him, he got down from his chariot to meet him and asked, Is something wrong? No, Gehazi answered. Gehazi, guys. But my master sent me to tell you that just now 2 members of the group of prophets in the hill country of Ephraim arrived, and he would like you to give them 3,000 pieces of silver and 2 changes of fine clothes. Please take 6,000 pieces of silver, Nehemiah replied. He insisted on it, tied up the silver in 2 bags, gave them and 2 changes of fine clothes to 2 of his servants, and sent them on ahead of Gehazi. When they reached the hill where Elisha lived, Gehazi took the 2 bags and carried them into the house. He went back into the house and Elisha asked him, Where have you been? Oh, nowhere, sir, he answered. But Elisha said, Was not I there in spirit when the man got out of his chariot to meet you? This is no time to accept money and clothes, olive groves and vineyards, sheep and cattle, or servants. And now Nehemiah's disease will come upon him, and you and your descendants will have it forever. When Gehazi, I think in Gehazi, when Gehazi left, he had the disease. His skin was as white as snow. 2 Kings chapter 6. One day, the group of prophets that Elisha was in charge of One day, the group of prophets that Elisha was in charge of complained to him. The place where he lives in is too small. Give us permission to go to the Jordan and cut down some trees so that we can build a place to live. All right, Elisha answered. One of them urged him to go with them. He answered. Okay, he agreed. They set out together. When they arrived at Jordan, they began to walk. As one of them was cutting down a tree, suddenly his iron axe head fell in the water. What shall I do, sir? He exclaimed to Elisha. It was a borrowed axe. Where did it fall? Elisha asked. The man showed him the place, and Elisha cut off a stick, threw it in the water, and made the axe head float. Take it out, he ordered, and the man bent down and picked it up. The king of Syria was at war with Israel. He consulted his officers and chose a place to set up his camp. But Elisha sent word to the king of Israel, warning him not to go near that place, because the Syrians were waiting in ambush there. So the king of Israel warned the men who lived in that place, and they were on guard. This happened several times. The Syrian king became greatly upset over this. He called in his officials and asked them, which one of you is on the side of the king of Israel? One of them answered, no one is, your majesty. The prophet Elisha tells the king of Israel what you say even in the privacy of your own room. When he was told that Elisha was in Dothan, he sent a large force there with horses and chariots. They reached the town at night and surrounded it. Early the next morning, Elisha's servant got up, went out of the house, and saw the Syrians Early the next morning, Elisha's servants got up, went out of the house, and saw the Syrian troop with their horses and chariots surrounding the town. He went back to Elisha and exclaimed, we are doomed, sir. What shall we do? Do not be afraid, Elisha answered. We have more on our side than they have on theirs. Then he prayed, O Lord, open his eyes and let him see. The Lord answered his prayer, and Elisha's servant looked up and saw the hillside covered with horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. When the Syrians attacked, Elisha prayed, O Lord, strike these men blind. The Lord answered his prayer and struck them blind. Then Elisha went to them and said, you are on the wrong road. This is not the town you are looking for. Follow me, and I will lead you to the man you are after. And he led them to Samaria. As soon as they have entered the city, Elisha prayed, open their eyes, Lord, and let them see. The Lord answered his prayer. He restored their sight. And they saw that they were inside Samaria. When the king of Israel saw this, when the king of Israel saw the Syrians, he asked Elisha, shall I kill them, sir? Shall I kill them? No, he answered, not even soldiers you have captured in combat will you put to death. Give them something to eat and drink, and let them return to their king. So the king of Israel provided a great feast for them. And after they have eaten and drunk, he sent them back to the king of Syria. From then, from then on, the Syrians stopped raiding the land of Israel. The siege of Samaria. Sometime later, King Ben-Hadad of Syria led his entire army against Israel and laid siege to the city of Samaria. As a result of the siege, the food shortage in the city was so severe that a donkey's head cost eight 80 pieces of silver, and 200 grams of those dog cost in 5 pieces of silver. The king of Israel was walking by on the city wall when a woman cried out, "Help me, your majesty." He replied, "The Lord will not help you. What help can I provide? Have I got any wheat or wine? What is your trouble?" She answered, "The other day this woman here suggested eat my child and then eat her child the next day. So we cooked my son and ate him. The next day I told her that we won't eat her son, but she have hidden hidden him. Wahala." Hearing this, the king tore his clothes in dismay, and the people who were close to the wall could see that he was wearing sackcloth under his clothes. He exclaimed, "May God strike me dead if Elisha is not beheaded before the day is over." And he sent a messenger to get Elisha. Meanwhile, Elisha was at home with some elders who were visiting him. Before the king's messenger arrived, Elisha said to the elder, "That murderer is sending someone to kill me. Now, when he gets here, shut the door and don't let him come in. The king himself will be just behind him." He had hardly finished saying this when the king arrived and said, "It is the Lord who has brought this trouble on us. Why should I wait any longer for him to do something?" Elisha answered, "Listen to what the Lord says. By this time tomorrow, you will be able to buy in Samaria 3 kilograms of the best wheat or 6 kilograms of barley for 1 piece of silver." The personal attendant of the king said to Elisha, "That can't happen, not even if God himself were to send grain at once. You will see it happen, but you will never eat any of the food." Elisha replied, 4 men who were suffering from a dreaded skin disease were outside the gate of Samaria, and they said to one another, "Why should we wait here until we die? It's no use going into the city, because we won't starve to death in there. But if we stay here, we will die also. So let's go to the Syrians' camp. The worst they can do is kill us, but maybe they will spare our lives." So as it began to get dark, they went to Syria camp, but when they reached it, no one was there. The Lord had made the Syrians hear what sounded like the advance of a large army with horses, and the Syrians thought that the king of Israel had hired Hittites and Egyptian king and their armies to attack them. So that evening the Syrians had fled for their lives, abandoning their tents, horses and donkeys, and leaving the camp just as it was. When the 4 men reached the edge of the camp, they went into a tent, ate and drank what was there, grabbed the silver, gold and clothes they found, and went off and hid them. Then they returned, entered another tent and did the same thing. Then they said to each other, "We should not be doing this. We have good news and we should not keep it to ourselves. If we wait until morning to tell it, we are sure to be punished. Let's go at once and tell the king's officers." So they left the Syrians camp, went back to Samaria and called out to the God and called out to the guards at the gates. We went to the Syrians camp and did not see or hear anyone. The horses and donkeys have not been untied, and the tents are just as the Syrians left them. Syrians. The guard announced the news, and it was reported in the palace. It was still night, but the king got out of bed and said to his officers, I tell you what the Syrians are planning. They know about the famine here, so they have left their camp to go and hide in the countryside. They think that we will leave the city to find food, and then they will take us alive and capture the city. One of his officers said, the people here in the city are doomed anyway, like those that have already died. So let's send some men with 5 of the horses that are left so that we can find out what has happened. They chose some men, and the king sent them in 2 chariots with instruction to go and find out what had happened. So the Syrians, to the Syrians army. The men went as far as the Jordan, and all along the road they saw the clothes and equipment that the Syrians have abandoned as they flew. Then they returned and reported to the king. The people of Samaria rushed out and looted the Syrian camp, and as the Lord had said, 3 kilograms of the best wheat or 6 kilograms of barley were sold for 1 piece of silver. It so happened that the king of Israel has put the city gates under command of the officials who was his personal attendant. The officer was trampled to death there by the people and died, as Elisha had predicted. When the king went to see him, Elisha had told the king that by that time the following day 3 kilograms of the best wheat or 6 kilograms of the of barley would be sold in Samaria for 1 piece of silver. To which the official has answered, that can't happen, not even if the Lord himself were to send grain at once. And Elisha has replied, you will see it happen, but you will never eat any of the fruit. And that is just what happened to him. He died trampled to death by the people at the city gates. 2 Kings chapter 8. Now Elisha had told the woman who lived in Shunem, whose son he had brought back to life, that the Lord was sending a famine on the land, which would last for 7 years, and that she should live with her family and go and live somewhere else. She had followed his instruction and had gone with her family to live in Philistia for 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, she returned to Israel and went to the king to ask for her house and her land to restore to her. She found the king talking with Gehazi, Elisha's servant. The king wanted to know about Elisha's miracles. While Gehazi was telling Elisha has brought a dead person back to life, the woman made her appeal to the king. Gehazi said to him, Your Majesty, here is the woman and here is her son, whom Elisha brought back to life. In answer to the king's question, she confirmed Gehazi's story. And so the king called an official and told him to give back to her everything that was hers, including the value of all the crops that her field has produced during the 7 years she has been away. Elisha went to Damascus at a time when King Ben-Hadad of Syria was in. When the king was told that Elisha was there, he said to Hazael, one of his officers, take a gift to the prophet and ask him to consult the Lord to find out whether or not I am going to get well. So Hazael loaded 40 camels with all kinds of finest products of Damascus and went to Elisha. Hazael met him. He said, your servant King Ben have sent me to ask you whether or not he will recover from his illness. Elisha answered, the Lord has revealed to me that he will die. But go to him and tell him that he will recover. Then Elisha stared at him with a horrified look on his face until Hazael became at ease. Suddenly Elisha burst into tears. Why are you crying, sir? Hazael asked. Because I know the horrible things you will do against the people of Israel. Elisha answered, you will set their fortress on fire, slaughter their finest young men, scatter their children to death, and rip open their pregnant women. How could I ever be that powerful? Hazael asked. I am a nobody. The Lord has shown me that you will be king of Syria, Elisha replied. The Lord, okay. Hazael went back to Ben-Hadad, who asked him, what did Elisha say? He told me that you will certainly get well, Hazael answered. But on the following day, Hazael took a blanket, soaked it in water, and smoothed the king. Hazael succeeded Ben-Hadad as king of Syria. In the 5th year of the reign of Joram, son of Aham, as king of Israel, Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, became king of Judea at the age of 32, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 8 years. His wife was Ahab's daughter, and like the family of Ahab, he followed the evil ways of the king of Israel. He sinned against the Lord, but the Lord was not willing to destroy Judea, because he has promised his servant David that his descendants will always continue to rule. During Jehoram's reign, Edom revolted against Judah and became an independent kingdom. So Jehoram set out with all his chariots for Zar, where the Edomite army surrounded them. During the night, his chariot commanders managed to break out and escaped, and his soldiers scattered to their homes. Edom has been independent of Judah ever since. During this same period, the city of Lebanon also revolted. Everything else that Jeroboam did is recorded in the history of the kings of Judah. Jehoram died and was buried in the royal tomb in David's city, and his son Ahaziah succeeded as king. In the 12th year of reign of Joram, son of Ahab, as king of Israel, Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, became king of Judah at the age of 22, and he ruled in Jerusalem for 1 year. Athaliah, the daughter of King Ahab and granddaughter of King Omri of Israel. Ahaziah was since Ahaziah was related to King Ahab by marriage, he sinned against the Lord just as Ahab's family did. King Ahasuerus joined King Joram of Israel in a war against King Hazael of Syria. The army clashed at Ramoth in Gilead, and Joram was wounded in battle. He returned to the city of Jezreel to recover from his wound, and Ahaziah went there to visit him. Meanwhile, the prophet Elisha called one of the young prophets and said to him, "Get ready and go to Ramoth in Gilead. Take this jar of olive oil with you, and when you get there, look for Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat and grandson of Nimshi. Take him to a private room away from his companions. Pour this olive oil on his head and say, 'The Lord proclaims that he anoints you king of Israel.' Then leave there as far as you can." So the young prophet went to Ramoth, where he found the army officers in a conference. He said, "Sir, I have a message for you." Jehu asked, "Which one of us are you speaking to?" "To you, sir," he replied. Then the two of them went indoors, and the young prophet poured the olive oil on Jehu's head and said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, proclaims, I anoint you king of my people Israel. You are to kill your master the king, that son of Ahab, so that I may punish Jezebel for murdering my prophets and my other servants. All Ahab's family and descendants are to die. I will get rid of every male in his family, as I did the family of King Jeroboam of Israel and of King Baasha of Israel. Jezebel will not be buried. Her body will be eaten by dogs in the territory of Jezreel." After saying this, the young prophet left the room and fled. Jehu went back to his fellow officers, who asked, "Is everything all right? What did that crazy fellow want with you?" "You know what he wanted," Jehu answered. "No, we don't." They replied, "Tell us what he said." "He told me that the Lord proclaimed, 'I anoint you king of Israel.'" At once Jehu's fellow officers spread their cloaks at the top of the step for Jehu to step on, blew trumpets, and shouted, "Jehu is king! King Joram of Israel is killed." Then Jehu plotted against King Joram, who was in where he had gone to recover from the wound which he had received in the battle at Ramoth, against King Hazael of Ashri. So Jehu said to his officers, "If you are with me, make sure that no one slipped out of Ramoth. Go and warn the people of Jezreel." Then he got into his chariot and set off to Jezreel. Joram had still not recovered. The king Ahaziah of Judah was there visiting him. A guard on duty in the watchtower at Jezreel saw Jehu and his men approaching. "I see some men riding up," he called out. Joram replied, "Send a horseman to find out if they are friends or enemies." The messenger went out to Jehu and said to him, "The king wants to know if you come as a friend." "That is not my business," Jehu answered. "Fall in behind me." The guard on the watchtower reported that the messenger had reached the group but was not returning. Another messenger was sent out, who asked Jehu the same question. Again Jehu answered, "That is none of your business. Fall in behind me." Once more the guard reported that the messenger has reached the group but was not returning, and he added, "The leader of the group is driving his chariot like a madman, just like Jehu. Get my chariot ready." King Joram ordered. It was done, and he okay, okay. King Joram ordered. It was done, and he and King Ahasuerus rode out, each in his own chariot, to meet Jehu. They met him at the field which has belonged to Naboth. "Are you coming in peace?" Joram asked him. "How can there be peace?" Jehu answered, "when we still have all the witchcrafts and idolatry that your mother Jezebel started?" It's treason, Asa," Joram cried out as he turned his chariot round and fled. Jehu drew his bow and, with all his strength, shot an arrow that struck Joram in the back and pierced his heart. Joram fell dead in his chariot. And Jehu said to his aide-baker, "Get his body and throw it in the field that belongs to Naboth." Remember that when you and I were riding together behind King Joram's father Ahab, the Lord spoke those words against Ahab. "I saw the murder of Naboth and his sons yesterday, and I promise that I will punish you here in this same field. So take Joram's body," Jehu ordered his aide, "and throw it in the field that belongs to Naboth, so as to fulfill the Lord's promise." King Ahasuerus saw what happened, so he flew in his chariot towards the town of Beth-Haggan, pursued by Jehu. "Kill him too," Jehu ordered his men, and they wounded him as he drove his chariot on the road up to Gur, near near the town of Iblim, but he managed to keep going until he reached the city of Megiddo, where he died. His officials took his body back to Jerusalem in a chariot and buried him in the royal tomb in David's city. Ahasuerus had become king of Judea in the 11th year that Joram son of Ahab was king of Israel. Jehu arrived in Jezreel. Jezebel, having heard what happened, put on eyeshadow, arranged her hair, and stood looking down at the street from a window in the palace. As Jehu came through the gate, she called out, "You Zimri, you assassin, are you here?" Jehu looked up and shouted, "Who is on my side?" 2 or 3 palace officers looked down at him from a window, and Jehu said to them, "Throw her down." They threw her down, and her blood spattered the wall and the horses. Jehu drove these horses and chariot over her body, entered the palace, and had a meal. Only then did he say, "Take that damn woman and bury her." But all okay. After all, she is a king's daughter. But the men who went out to bury her found nothing except her skull and the bones of her hands and feet. When they report this to Jehu, he said, "This is what the Lord said would happen." When he spoke through his servant Elijah, "Dogs will eat Jezebel's body in the territory of Jezreel. Her remains will be scattered there like dung, so that no one will be able to identify them." The descendants of Ahab are killed. There were 17 descendants of King Ahab. Living in the city of Samaria, Jehu wrote a letter and sent copies to the rulers of the city, to the leading citizens, and to the guardians of Ahab's descendants. The letter read, "You are in charge of the king's descendants, and you have at your disposal chariots, horses, weapons, and fortified cities. So then, as soon as you receive this letter, you are to choose the best qualified of the king's descendants, make him king, and fight to defend him." The rulers of Samaria were terrified. "How can we oppose Jehu?" they said, "when neither King Joram nor King Ahaziah could." So the officers in charge of the palace and the officers in charge of the city, together with the leading citizens and the guardians, sent this message to Jehu: "We are your servants, and we are ready to do anything you say, but we will not make anyone king. Do whatever you think best." Jehu wrote them another letter: "If you are with me and are ready to follow my order, bring the head of King Ahab's descendants to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow." The servants, descendants of King Ahab, the 70 descendants of King Ahab were under the care of the leading citizens of Samaria, who were bringing them up. When Jehu's letter was received, the leaders of Samaria killed all 70 of Ahab's descendants, put their heads in baskets, and sent them to Jehu at Jezreel. When Jehu was told that the head of Ahab's descendants had been brought, he ordered them to be piled up in two heaps at the city gate, and to be left there until the following morning. In the morning he went out to the gate and said to the people who were there, "I was the one who plotted against King Joram and killed him. You are not responsible for that, but who killed all this?" This proved everything that the Lord said about the descendants of Ahab will come true. The Lord has done what he promised through his prophet Elijah. Then Jehu put to death all the other relatives of Ahab living in Jezreel, and all his officials, close friends, and princes. Not one of them was left alive. Jehu left Jezreel to go to Samaria. On the way, at a place called Shepherd's Camp, he met some relatives of the late King Ahaziah of Judea and asked them, "Who are you?" Ahaziah's relatives, they answered, "We are going to Jezreel to pay our respect to the children of Queen Jezebel and to the rest of the royal family." Jehu ordered his men, "Take them alive." They seized them and he put them to death near a pit there. There were 42 people in all, and not one of them was left alive. Jehu started out again, and on his way, he was met by Jonadab, son of Rechab. Jehu greeted him and said, "You and I think alike. Will you support me?" "I will," Jonadab answered. "Give me your hand then," Jehu replied. They clasped hands, and Jehu held him up into the chariot, saying, "Come with me and see for yourself how devoted I am to the Lord." And they rode on together to Samaria. When they arrived there, Jehu killed all of Ahab's, not sparing even one. This is what told Elijah would happen. Jehu called Jehu called the people of Samaria together and said, "King Ahab served the God Baal a little, but I will serve him much more. Jehu called the people of Samaria together and said, King Ahab served the god Baal a little, but I will serve him much more. Call together all the prophets of Baal, all his worshippers, and all his princes. No one is excused. I am going to offer a great sacrifice to Baal, and whosoever is not present will be put to death. This was a trick on the part of Jehu by which he meant to kill all the worshippers of Baal. Then Jehu ordered, proclaim a day of worship in honor of Baal. The proclamation was made, and Jehu sent word throughout all the land of Israel. All who worshipped Baal came, not one of them failed to come. They all went into the temple of Baal. Oh, oh, lolo, lolo. Oh, lolo. They all went into the temple of Baal, filling it from one end to the other. Then Jehu ordered the priests in charge of the sacred robe to bring the robes out and give them to the worshippers. After that, Jehu himself went into the temple with Jonadab, son of Rechab, and said to the people there, make sure that our worshippers of Baal are present, and that no worshippers of the Lord has come in. Then he and Jonadab went into offer sacrifice and burnt offerings to Baal. He had stationed 80 men outside the temple and have instructed them, you are to kill all these people. Anyone who left one of them escape will pay for it with his life. As soon as Jehu had presented the offerings, he said to the guard and the officers, go in and kill them all. Don't let anyone escape. Then they went in with drawn sword, killed them all, and dragged the bodies outside. Then they went on into the inner sanctuary of the temple, brought out the sacred pillar that was there and burnt it. So they destroyed the sacred pillar in the temple and turned the temple into a latrine, which it still is today. That was how Jehu wiped out the worship of Baal in Israel. But he imitated the sin of King Jeroboam, who led Israel into the sin of worshipping the gold bull calves he set up in Bethel and Edom. The Lord said to Jehu, you have done to Ahab's descendants everything I wanted you to do. So I promise you that your descendants down to the fourth generation will be king of Israel. But Jehu did not obey with all his heart the law of the Lord, the God of Israel. Instead, he followed the example of Jeroboam, who led Israel into sin. At that time, the Lord began to reduce the size of Israel's territory. King Hazael of Syria conquered all the Israelite territory, east of the Jordan as far south as the town of Aaron or the river Arnon. This included the territory of Gilead and Bashan, where the tribe of Gad, Reuben, and East Manasseh lived. Everything else that Jehu did, including his brave deed, is recorded in the history of the kings of Israel. He died and was buried in Samaria, and his son Jehoshaphat succeeded him as king. Jehu has ruled in Samaria as king of Israel for 28 years. So this is the end of today's reading. Before I go, let me read Psalm and Psalm 22. The Lord is my shepherd, I have everything I need. He lets me rest in fields of green grass and lead me to quiet pools of fresh waters. He gives me new strength, He guides me in the right path, as He has promised. Even if I go through the deepest darkness, I will not be afraid of, for you are with me. Your shepherd rod and staff protect me. You prepare a banquet for me, where all my enemies can see me. You welcome me as an honored guest and fill my cup to the brim. I know that your goodness and love will be with me all my life, and your house will be my home as long as I live. The Lord and all that is in it belongs the world and all that is in it belongs to the Lord. The earth and all who live on it are His. He built it on the deep waters beyond the earth, and laid its foundations in the ocean depths. Who has the right to go up the Lord's hill and enter His holy temple? Those who are pure in heart and in thought, who do not worship idols or make false promises. The Lord will bless them and save them. God will declare them innocent. Such are the people who come to God, who come into the presence of the God of Jacob. Fling wide the gates, open the ancient doors. The great King will come in. Who is this great King? He is the Lord strong and mighty, the Lord victorious in battle. Fling wide the gates, open the ancient doors, and the great King will come in. Who is this great King? The triumphant Lord, He is the great King. Hallelujah. So, guys, this is the end of this video, and I'll be back again tomorrow.